Hello. All right. So, welcome to my studio. My name is Sheva Chaya, and I am here in Tzfat, Israel, one of the mystical capitals of Israel, of the whole world. Tzfat, the holy city in the northern Galilee of Israel. And I'm here in my studio. This is my workspace, and I'm so excited to share some learning with you and some artwork with you, some thoughts about this stage in time that we're in. It's just so exciting. There's so many amazing things happening in the world right now, and to get to be a part of it is so amazing. So I want to start off with with a little bit of learning. When I was thinking about what it is that I could share on this incredible festival experience that I feel so psyched to be a part of, I just think it really boiled down to there's a few different subjects that they're really close to my heart and they're really meaningful to me, and I feel like they're really worthwhile to share. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start from that place, and I'm going to share with you not only ideas, but I'm going to show you a little bit of artwork, some in action, doing some work that I'm going to share with you, and hopefully it'll all tie together, and we'll all really get something out of it. So we're in really, really special times. We're just coming out here in Israel, so if you're in North America, it's still Rosh Chodesh Sivan. It's the new month of Sivan. And the new moon, we're starting totally new. And in Hebrew, this is one of the subjects that I wanted to share with you, is that there's just incredible integral holiness to every single letter, every single word in the Hebrew language. And so even the word for Rosh Chodesh, meaning the new month, so just those words have meaning. It doesn't just mean the new month. Rosh means the head. It means the head of the month. And Chodesh, if you spell the word Chodesh without the Vav, so it becomes Chadash. So the word Rosh Chodesh could be a new month, the head of the month, and it could also mean a new head, a new mind. So we have an incredible opportunity right now, being at the beginning. Everybody knows when it's a new moon, when the moon is just peeking out the first little bit of light of that new revolution of the moon for that month. It's total potential for that whole month. It's a time for planting seeds for that month, for making intentions for the month, hopes and dreams for what's going to happen in that month. And so in this month, it's not just any month, but it's the month of Sivan. And the month of Sivan is a month of incredible, incredible, incredible light. Speaking of infinite light, and I'm sure this is the timing of this festival is not for no reason. It's coming down at this time. That it's right before the one of the Shalosh Regalim, the holidays, one of the holidays, the 3 times of year that we're called to go up to Jerusalem. And there's a lot to be said about that, but let's just focus in on Shavuot, this holiday that's coming up in just a few days. So it comes out on Sunday here, Saturday night and Sunday, and it's the holiday that's known as the holiday of Matan Torah, of receiving of the Torah. And the receiving of the Torah is basically the moment in the world where Am Yisrael really we got our source book, or our blueprint for life. We got a map to show us the ways and the depths and the pathways of life, and all of our life is colored by that ever since then, and it's a huge, huge, huge light. And the light was so big when the Torah came down on Vav Sivan, on Shavuot, that the world would never be the same. From the revelation of the Torah, the world could never be the same after that, for the good. And we're in a time period now where after so many hundreds of years, so much time has gone by, and we're still finding out more and more and more from this incredible work, this incredible, basically, love letter from God to us, telling us about life, telling us on so many levels. There's the revealed level, there's a level of what, when, where, who, how much, the rules and regulations, what's allowed, what's not allowed, which is known as the revealed Torah, which is what most people, I don't know about you, but the way that I grew up, that's what I thought Judaism is, just a bunch of rules and calendar and that's it. But that's not it. That's not the whole thing. The whole story is including not only the revealed Torah, the rules and regulations, which is known as the black fire, like the ink on the cloth, but it's also the white fire. It's also the surrounding, the what is known as the hidden part of the Torah, the Kabbalah, the Nistar part of the Torah, which is known as the white fire. And so if you could imagine, and the next time you see a scroll, a Torah scroll being held up in the synagogue, you see that ink, the black ink written on the cloth, written on the parchment. And the black ink is literally black, which is representing the revealed Torah, these things that we know, it's written, it's stories, it's specific information. And the white surrounding it, that's holding it, that space in between the letters. So if you start to think about it and look deeply, if you start looking at those letters closely that are written on the cloth, the spaces in between the letters is its own whole language and story. Beautiful shapes, and there's meaning there. And the meaning there is what's described as the hidden, the panemiut of the Torah, the deeper well springs of the Torah. And this is what these teachings are all about our times. They're all about now. The light of the infinite. And the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh said that Mashiach would come when his light would keep going. It would go out all the way out to all ends of the world. And the author of the Zohar Kodesh, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, said that there would come a day, and he was the one one of the main figures in our history who made these types of deeper panemius teachings available in the form of the Zohar Kodesh, stories and teachings that are so deep that a person could look at them and not understand what they're saying at all. But the truth is, even though that's the case, you look at those words and you look at those stories, and even if you don't understand, it's still light, it's still healing, it's the inner, deeper essence of the meaning behind everything. And even reading it and not understanding it is healing for our souls. And this is something that I think we all experience in these times. We have an incredible well springs of information in these days, and so much focus is put on understanding and what we know, and being smart and being intelligent. But really, once we learn from our tradition that the depths, the real deep depths of learning is actually coming to a place where it's getting to the point of realizing that I know so much that I realize that I don't know anything. I realize that this great deal of learning and depth of growing in life has brought me to a place to realize there is so much more. There's so much more to understand, and I'm just at the beginning of a journey. And this is one of the secrets of true wisdom, is not coming to a place where say, okay, now I'm an expert, I'm a master. People come to me for questions, with their questions, and I have the answers, and that's the end of the story. No, that's actually really an end. That's a really limited way of looking at things. The true seeker of wisdom is constantly seeking more and more and more understanding and wisdom. And so, without further ado, I want to delve into a couple of these teachings that I picked out for us to learn today, and we're going to get to some glass blowing as well. So, there's a teaching that is, let's see, I'll grab my source here. First, I'm going to read from the teachings of Rav Ashlag. Rav Ashlag is the author of the Sulam. He did a full explanation of the Zohar Kodesh, basically really making these very deep teachings, making them available, not only available in our language, which is already a level which was needed for a long time, but also even deeper on the level of explaining it in such a way that a person can understand it in relation to how they understand even the modern world. In a language, Rav Ashlag is able to speak in a modern language where someone who is completely in the realms of not even necessarily learning in spiritual realms could understand these spiritual concepts, which is exactly what we need in these times. That's why it's just amazing. It's the best. So I found in one of the teachings, one of his great works is called the Hakdama LeTalmud Esra Sfirot, the introduction to the study of the 10 Sfirot, and it says here something very, very special and important for us to know. It says that talking about why is it important to learn this type of thing. He says, we can ask why the Kabbalists said that it's important for everybody to study Kabbalah. In this lies an important matter which should be stated publicly. Studying Kabbalah is of inestimable value in a person's spiritual progress. Even though a person may not understand what he's studying, through his great desire and strong will to understand, he awakens the lights that surrounds his soul. So just this yearning, just this wanting to know, so this in itself is bringing the light. And he's describing something it's a true reality. It's an unbelievable thing, a good thing to contemplate and think about, that we are actually surrounded by lights, right? If you can imagine a person, like, they have like a cloud of light around them, and what are those lights representing? Those lights are what that person is yet to understand, the next levels, that they're surrounding the head and they're surrounding the understanding of the person, but they haven't gone in yet. And so he says here that just wanting it, right, not even understanding, just reading it and just wanting to know anything about it, this is already awakening those lights. He says everyone is destined to arrive at this wondrous level of consciousness that God intends to bestow on all creatures according to the purpose of creation. If a person does not reach this level in this incarnation, he'll certainly reach it in a subsequent one, until he becomes worthy of fulfilling the specific purpose that God has planned for him. We all have something that we need to do, and we're going to keep being given the chance to do it until we do it. Until a person reaches her perfection, the lights that are destined for that person in the future remain as surrounding lights, like we described already. This means that these lights are ready and prepared for him, but are waiting until he merits the attainment of suitable vessels for these lights, and then the lights will be clothed within the transformed vessels. So, even at a time when a person lacks such vessels, but is occupying himself in the study of this wisdom, whenever he mentions the names of the lights and the vessels with which his particular soul has a connection, they immediately shine upon him to a certain degree. So even just saying holy words, it's making these high lights shine on our soul. It's doing something, even if we don't even understand it yet. Okay. And however, they shine without being clothed in the innermost part of the soul, as the person still lacks the transformed vessel to receive the lights. We need to build our vessel to receive it. Nevertheless, the illumination that the person receives time after time, whenever he studies Kabbalah, brings down upon that person favor from the higher worlds. And the higher worlds bestow upon him an abundance of holiness and purity, which bring a person very close indeed, so that he may come to his perfection. So even though we might not be there yet, even though we are not there yet, and we have so far to go, just wanting it, just saying these words, it's awakening it for us. It's helping us come to the state of being woke, being awakened. and knowing what we need to know, even if we don't really understand what it is yet, even if we don't have the vessels really to receive it yet. So this is one of the first steps. And what I want to mention here in this learning is a few different levels. There's so many different realms of holiness, and we can understand a lot from the holiness of just Hebrew itself, the Hebrew language, which we're going to talk about in just a second. And another realm that I want to touch on is the holiness of the Jewish heart, of the heart, which we just already spoke of, this yearning, the yearning coming from this place, coming from in the heart, that I want to know, that I care to seek out and find meaning in my life. This is something very, very holy, and it's true. This is something that exists in all of us, and not only is it beautiful and an amazing part of who we are, it's something that we can awaken by learning, and we can awaken it together in each other, and we can work on this together. We can awaken together by learning together, which is what we're doing now. This whole festival is about that. And there's such an opening, an awakening of people finding how finding meaning in learning true and holy teachings, which is just incredible. It's such an incredible time, such a special and incredible time. So I want to share with you something that I read from this book called Baderech, beautiful, awesome book, by Judah Mischel. Very worthwhile, really, really cool book. Tons of stories in here, really accessible. And he brings up this idea that I want to work with today. In English, it's called Before Hashem. In Hebrew, it's called Shiviti. It says here, a custom developed among Kabbalists to incorporate the pasuk, Shiviti Hashem Lenegdi Tamid, which means I'll put the name of God before me always. Meaning we need to develop our ability to meditate on and be able to visualize in our inner eye this name of God always, no matter what's happening in my life, to always be connected, which is what the Baal Shem Tov told us. This is really the goal of all of this spiritual work that we're doing and that we're interested in. The real goal of it is to have dvekus, to be constantly aware of our connection with God, to be connected deeply with mindfulness in an awake and clear and real, authentic way. This is Shiviti Hashem Lenegdi Tamid. So this custom developed that the Kabbalists, they would write in the beautiful print of Hebrew on a cloth. They would and put this pasuk Shiviti Hashem Lenegdi Tamid in a picture of a menorah drawn on parchment. This graphic design, intended to help viewers focus their kavana, to have their intention focused, is commonly found as a decoration in some shuls or an imprint inside of a siddur. We see it all over the place. It comes up a lot. And a framed placard or poster is often placed on the amud podium as a reminder that we're standing before Hashem in prayer. So when a person's in a synagogue or a shul, a lot of times you'll see this written, Shiviti Hashem Lenegdi Tamid, because when a person is in this state of prayer, it seems obvious that the person would be focused on God because they're praying. But the truth is, as soon as a person gets up and tries and wants to pray, so that is usually the time that it's the hardest time to focus. It's the easiest time to forget and have all kinds of distracting and random thoughts come in and take over. And so a person needs to really build this inner spiritual muscle of being able to focus and remember, what am I doing here? When I'm standing, when I want to pray, so I need to be able to go inside. I need to be able to close my eyes and look inside from my inner eye, and see myself standing in the Kodesh Kodeshim, standing in the holiest of holy places, seeing the holy vessels in the temple, seeing the cherub, the keruvim, seeing the altar, seeing the incense, seeing the kohanim, seeing the kohen gadol, seeing their beautiful clothing, the tapestries, the beautiful woven tapestries, the smoke that would go up in a perfect column. To be able to actually imagine this, imagine yourself standing in that place. and knowing that you're there, that you're actually right in front of God, which is actually true all the time. But the only way we're aware of it is to break through all of these challenges and distractions and teach ourselves to know it and remember it on a visceral level, realizing this is reality. It takes a lot of work. It's a special kind of muscle that we really need to build. So there's a law, a mitzvah, which says, "Da lifnei mi ata omed." You should know before who you must stand. To know what is this world? What am I doing and standing? So I want to go a little bit deeper into this idea of shiviti. So there's a very famous story, maybe you've heard it, but it's a really, really powerful story. And it goes like this. It says, Rabbi Yosef Yitzhak, the Frierdiker Rebbe, who's the previous Rebbe before the Rebbe of Chabad, Menachem Mendel, said it's laudable to have a shiviti placard placed on the amud in a shul, so at least the amud itself will be aware of Hashem's presence. So he said even just the pole itself in the synagogue that has that little, cloth on it that says shiviti Hashem Nili Tamid, so that pole knows that it's in Hashem's presence. However, obviously the goal must be for us to carve the message of shiviti in our hearts, to know that we are standing before Hashem and that Hashem is always with us, tamid, always, always, always. So there's a story here that you've probably heard, but I want to share it. It's a really powerful story. And it says, throughout the early part of the 20th century, Jews suffered brutal religious persecution at the hands of the evil Soviet regime. Religious life was forced underground, where a clandestine network of Jewish life persisted with great sacrifice. The incredible efforts of the Frierdiker Rebbe lay at the core of the Jewish life in Russia. A constant target of the Yevsektskaya, a Jewish section of the Soviet Communist Party, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe was accused of counter-revolutionary activities and subjected to brutal torture and imprisonment, and ultimately sentenced to death for treason. One morning, when the Frierdiker Rebbe was observing his father's yahrzeit, 3 members of the Yevsektskaya burst into the Beis Medrash with weapons to arrest him. Throughout the interrogation and imprisonment, the Rebbe remained steadfast, asserting that regardless of the threats and intimidation, he would not give up on his efforts to teach Torah and spread Yiddishkeit, whatever the cost. I have already made it clear that I will not budge in my principles. There is yet to be born, and never will there be born, a man or demon that will move me in the slightest degree from my principles. This is a quote. One of the agents pointed his loaded revolver at the Rebbe. This toy does away with principles and has made many a man change his mind. The Rebbe stared at the officer and calmly responded, this toy impresses he who believes in Welt und Asach Geter, in one world and many gods. But for one who has one God and believes in 2 worlds, your toy makes no impression whatsoever. So, the Frierdiker Rebbe, Alav Shalom, had this consciousness in the face of literally being threatened to be shot, a gun at his head, to say, yeah, a person who only believes that this is it, that this world is all there is, would be scared of such a thing. But he believes in one God. Not only in one God, he believes in one God in 2 worlds. What does that mean? Meaning that what I'm doing in this world is not the whole story. The whole story includes Olam Haba. It includes what is all this for? Right? What is all this for? What is all this life for? What is all of this acquiring and making and doing in this world for? So if it's done with Devekus, if it's done with consciousness of God always, with Shiviti Hashem Nili Tamid, knowing that I'm here, whatever it is that I'm doing in this world, I'm standing before God, I'm serving God in this moment, then this is creating a world that's infinite for me, because I'm connecting myself to the infinite. I'm even enjoying that now in this very finite world. And this can free a person from so much small-minded thinking that this world brings upon a person. And this example of this story of the Rebbe not being afraid and of even a gun pointed at his head is one of the strongest examples. So this gives us a sense, and I want you to keep in mind this idea of Shiviti Hashem the Nagi Tamid, of always having the name of Hashem before me, because this is part of what I'm going to bring up when I step into doing some work in a few minutes, getting into the glass blowing. So bear with me a little bit more. We're going to do a little bit more learning, and then we're going to step over to the bench to do a little work. I found in this book is called Sodot HaSafa HaIvrit. It's the secrets of the Hebrew language. And like I said at the beginning, every letter, every word is filled with meaning. It's filled with, we can learn so much from every tiny, even a tiny part of a letter can teach us so much. So this is something that is really important to know, because when we start to open up our minds to truth, it's endless. It's endless how much we can learn. And the Hebrew language is an example of this. So I want to share with you one tiny example that I found in this book. It's beautiful, beautiful. I love it so much. So there's a word called livluv, and it's that moment. If you've ever seen, it's hard to see it actually happen unless you watch like a time lapse, but you've ever seen on a tree that has no leaves, right? There's that moment when a leaf comes out of a branch and it unfolds, right? And it becomes an open leaf. So that moment is a very special moment that we don't normally have like a snapshot of that moment, because it's happening before our eyes, but we blink and it already happened. We don't even see it unless we really take the time to contemplate and slow down and look at it, which halavai that we would do. So it says here in this beautiful Safar that there's a real incredible thing that happens, the awakening of a tree from its sleep of winter, right? So this is a hint to the awakening of the spiritual awakening of a person, which is called livluv. Which livluv, so the word is basically made up of the letters, most of the letters, lamed bet, with a vav in there. So lamed bet spells lev, heart. Right? This is from the in Hebrew, every word has a root. So the root in this word, there's a root in the yesod of lev, of the heart. And this is hinting at that a person, when a person starts to awaken, they get what's called etzot amitiot. They get true advice. They learn truth. They hear something that's emes, that's really, really true. And this is what awakens a person. When a person hears one really true word, like if you meet a person who's so real and so authentic, and they even say the most basic thing to you, just hearing them speak at all, hearing them say a couple of words can be a huge awakening. It could awaken your heart and your mind, and realizing there's so much going on in this world. There's so much more going on in this world than I realized in my life, in life in general. It's incredible. And this is connected to the opening of the heart of a person. When a person feels this way, their heart opens. And so leaves on a tree, this is, as we remember from the beginning of this, a tree has its awakening from winter. What happens that shows that it's awakening? The leaves come out of the tree. And in Hebrew, the word for leaf is alim. And this word alim is a hint. Alim, aleh means a leaf, right? The way you spell aleh, maybe it reminds you of another word which a lot of people know of. Aliyah, right? So it says here, this is hinting about an ascension, of a spiritual ascension, of going up. Aleh. Aleh means a leaf, and aleh means to go up. Aliyah, to go up. Aleh lamala, to go higher. Which is a hint, which is this of this going up, of this ascension of a person in a spiritual way. And how does this happen? In the schut, in the merit of the opening of the heart. So when a person is awakened, their heart opens, and they can open their mind and their whole life to whole new levels of spiritual truth. So if we look closely at this, there's a really interesting and special and unique connection here between the essence of a heart and the shape of a leaf, which is this hint of this moment of this awakening, the awakening of the tree when the leaf comes out and first opens itself from the tree, and the awakening of a person who has a spiritual awakening, that their heart opens. And we can see that a lot of times a leaf in nature, it comes out to this shape. Let's see if this shows nicely here. Yeah, that looks like a heart, right? Good old leaf. As we know, leaves, they have a shape of a heart a lot of the time. And this is the way that people draw a heart, even though it's not exactly the exact anatomical form of a heart. That's how we draw a heart, right? So we see that this awakening of the tree comes through this physical thing. Who would think twice about the shape of a leaf? Okay, maybe it's beautiful, or it's this type of a leaf, or that type of a tree. If someone's just looking on the literal level, on the outside level of the revealed Torah level, the black ink level, the black fire level. But if you look deeper, on that deeper level, you see it's the shape of a heart. And that leaf opening on the tree is symbolizing the awakening of the tree from its sleep, which is connected to the awakening of a human whose heart opens, which looks just like the leaf. So I hope you're following me on this. I think it's incredibly beautiful. And let's see if we're going to go a little bit further with this. Okay, I think that's a good little taste of it. I wanted to bring up in general the concept of this awakening and the heart, and I think that's a good start. So, in speaking of the heart, of an awakened heart, so the thing about the heart of a Jew is that we are meant to be who we truly are, and who we truly are is one. We're all one. We're all part of one bigger person, one bigger body, and each of us has a part in that. And even though we come out in this world, we look like I'm a separate person than everyone else around me, we're actually all part of a bigger being. And our hearts are therefore all connected to each other. Now, in the way that the world works, there's a lot of tension and difficulties between people all the time. It's a big part of life, as everybody knows. But the truth of a human, of what it is that we're meant to do while we're here in this world, is connected to this whole concept of the heart. Because the way that a person comes into the world, and I'm drawing now again on the teachings of Rabbi Ashlag from the introduction to the Zohar Kodesh. So he says there that really the nature of a person, if a person just goes with their physical nature, which is like what their body, what their humanness is asking of them, so it's they just want for themselves. Like when a baby's born, when a little kid, until someone grows to the point of becoming more developed as a teenager, and they start to open their mind to think about the world in a more altruistic way. It's basically programmed into a human being when they're a baby to just ask for their needs, or cry or scream for their needs, right? I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, I'm tired, I'm screaming, I'm crying for whatever it is that I want. I want everything for me, and we're built this way. We're born this way. But that's not the end of the story. And if a person lives their whole life feeling that way and acting that way, oy vey, chava, because the potential of a person and the purpose of life of a person in this world is so much bigger than that. What happens when we get to the point of what's known in our tradition as bar bat mitzvah age, 12 or 13, but this is also a conceptual idea. When a person gets to a point where they're developed enough, symbolized by this age of the beginning of adulthood, that they start to care about something other than themselves. They start to become altruistic. Maybe they want to save the whales. Maybe they want to save the environment. Maybe they want to stand up for something that they believe in the world that's outside of just for themselves, that I am hungry and I want this bike and I want that sweater, etc. So this altruistic type of living is called Ratzon Lekabel al Manat Lashpia, that a person doesn't just want to receive for themselves because they like chocolate ice cream or whatever it is, that's what they want, and that's the end of the story. It's not just that. A person on this level, when they start to become altruistic and they grow and make themselves know that this is actually the meaning and the point of life, that what we're receiving is it's a receiving in order to give. This is the really the soul part of a person. This is the part of a person that we're looking to find and develop and learn to be that person. And it doesn't come easy. It takes a lot of work, because a person's wanting for themselves is always there. It's coming back and asking again and again, saying, well, now I want this and now I want that. But really, the goal of humanity is coming to this level of wanting to receive in order to give. And coming back to the heart, this idea that I brought up before. So what does this have to do with the heart? So somebody once asked the Lubavitcher Rebbe, the whole setup of the structure of humanity. If you've learned a little bit of Kabbalah, if you're watching this program, then I'm sure you're being exposed to all kinds of beautiful concepts, and God willing, you know a bit about it. So we have what's called the tree of life in Kabbalah, which is the structure of the Sfirot. Without getting into it too deeply, there's different aspects of what God is like, it's a structure. And it's known as the Sfirot. It's set up in a certain way. And there's a right side, and there's a left side, and there's a center. So in general, this comes up even in just, common life and knowledge, that the right side is the side of chesed, of giving, of love. And the left side is the side of gevurah, of strength, of limitations, of restrictions. So coming back to the story, so someone came to the Lubavitcher Rebbe once and asked him if a person's heart is about giving, and love, right? That's what we associate the heart to be, and it is. So why is it on the left side of the body? Why wouldn't it be on the right side of the body? Because the right side of the body is the side of giving and love in the tree of life, and plays itself out in the person. So the Rebbe said, why? When a person is standing across from another person, like I am looking at you now, so when they look at that person, their heart, which is on their left-hand side, is facing the right-hand side of that other person. And vice versa. That person's heart, which is on their left side, is facing the right side of the other person. So that love, that giving, that learning to be a giver, that learning to think about somebody else, to think about the person across from me, and know that this is what's making us whole, right? It's not getting that house or that car or that yacht or the food, whatever it might be that I think that I want in this physical world, and I think that that's going to satisfy this feeling of emptiness and need that I have in me that keeps coming back and reminding me of itself again and again in life. No, that's never satisfying. Anybody who knows, you can do research and see the people who, the millionaires, the wise millionaires say that, you get to a point where you realize that's not it, right? It's not fulfilling to just get what you want on this world level. It's a much deeper thing. What gives a person a feeling of meaning and purpose in life? When they give, when they become a giver. Knowing and realizing my heart becomes on the right side when I see it in you, the person across from me. And I love this person, and I care about this person, I want to help. I want to help the world, and I want to shine the light of healing and truth and goodness into the world, into the people across from me. So this beautiful concept inspired me to make a little piece. I want to move now over to my work table and make something, do a little glass blowing, and connect this Torah and this learning with some creative activity. And this is something that I'm feeling so blessed and excited to be a part of in my life in general now. This program in Yerushalayim called Sheva, which I have the great joy and honor to teach in, is a combination of learning Torah and doing a creative art with it. So we do painting with me. There's also movement and theater and voice work, all different types of things. Very worthwhile to check it out. It's an amazing thing, amazing program. And this is the type of approach that we're taking. So it's not just learning, and I would hope that some of this beautiful learning that we've done is already touching hearts and opening hearts and bringing us to a place of awakening and inspiration. But we want to integrate. We want to bring it into our lives all the way through. So I want to take these ideas that we brought up, the idea of the heart, the idea of how important it is to say these holy words even if we don't understand them, and give ourselves a chance that the lights that are surrounding us can come in and be integrated into us, and that the awakening in a person, just like a tree awakens from its slumber of winter and starts to open its leaves, the leaves which are the shape like a heart, like a person when they awaken in their heart, they're awakening like a new way of understanding things, a spiritual rising, going up like a leaf. The word for leaf means go up as well, aleh, aliyah, to go up. So we're coming up to Shavuos, this holiday of receiving of the Torah. And it's said there, when we were given the Torah, that we were there together, am echad belev echad. We were one as a people with one heart. So I want to make a little project now in the moments that we have left here, based on this idea, this concept. We'll see how this goes. It's a bit of an experiment, but that's what we're doing here. We're going to make the most of this experience, and you're going to get to see a little glass blowing. I got a view of my torch here. Okay. And I'm going to make a piece based on these concepts that we've been sharing of Tiviti Hashem Nebi Tamid, of the heart, and bring a few more concepts in, and we'll see what we get out of this. Okay. Okay, so when I make a glass piece, I'm starting with a tube here. I'm going to make something relatively simple because we only have a few minutes, but you can imagine taking it a bit further, going deeper with it. So I'm heating up the glass, and when the glass is hot, it's movable, it's changeable. You can stick pieces together, you can pull them apart, you can blow the glass into a shape. So this is really an incredible art. You'll notice that all the time I'm spinning and moving and changing the glass, changing the form of the glass, changing the position of the glass. I want to get an even heat all the way around the tube so that I can make a change here. When it starts to glow, that's good news. That means that you can make a change. And we want to make a change, because the only true constant in life is change. And so if we're really living alive, so being able to live with change and with growth and with transformation, this is a very real way to be. When the glass is hot, I can make a change in the shape, stretch it. And it goes back to being hard, unmovable glass pretty quickly. And I'll use the fire also to cut the glass. Okay. Okay, so I want to just show you a couple of little concepts with this piece here. The first one has to do with this idea of the heart again. So, if you were to ask a lot of people, what they think about when they think of a heart, so I'm pretty sure the Katz Rebbe said that there's nothing more whole than a broken heart. And who knows that better than the Jewish people? Right, we've been through it all. We've been through every type of persecution. Even though we're trying to bring love and consciousness and truth to the world constantly, the world's giving us a bad rap. They want to blame everything on us. And yet, we keep coming through, and we don't give up. And the brokenness that we go through, it's part of our story, but it's not the whole story. And glass blowing it actually really illustrates this incredibly. You have the hot glass. When the glass is hot and glowing like that, so we already saw it's movable and changeable. But it's also sticky. So a really simple way of adding some color to the glass is to take the hot glass and tap it or roll it in some broken pieces. So I don't know if you can really see it here. Let's see. The camera can pick it up. Not really. But basically, oh yeah, you can see there those little dots. So it looks like there's some sand on the end of the glass. So that's basically broken pieces of glass stuck to the glass. So this is the concept of broken and whole, which we get in glass blowing over and over again. Broken pieces, you heat them up, you connect them together, and what was broken becomes whole. What was separate becomes together, becomes smooth, whole, and new, and beautiful again. So this is giving us a hint into something really, really awesome. And I want to share it with you. I learned years ago that we have this idea coming from the prophecy of Jeremiah that we could really learn something about ourselves from any material that is being worked with, any artistic form, any artistic material is like us. We are like it because we're the material, we're created. And since we're created, when we see something being created, we can relate to the material. So we can relate to clay in the hands of the potter, we can relate to wood in the hands of the carpenter, and we can relate to glass. And how can we relate to glass? What is glass like? So everybody knows glass is fragile, it's breakable. You have to be careful to not break glass. Right? And that's one thing that everybody knows about glass. But not everybody knows, but we know now because we're seeing that glass is also unbreakable. When is glass unbreakable? It's unbreakable when it's hot. When you heat up glass and it becomes hot, instead of being breakable, it becomes whole. It becomes smooth, connected. It becomes new. What was broken, those little spots that were on the glass that I started with, I basically rolled the hot glass in broken pieces. So it was totally broken shards of glass. Right? It's like useless, dangerous pieces of glass. And once the glass is hot and it picks them up and you put it back in the fire, not only do they become whole, it becomes smooth, it becomes beautiful, but it actually becomes part of the beauty of the piece. It becomes the design. It adds something. And how does this happen? This happens by way of the fire. And the fire is making what was sharp and hard and cold and unmovable and breakable into something malleable and changeable and new and beautiful and whole. So the fire on a literal level, for the glass, that's what it's doing. But the Navi says, the prophet says, this is just like us. We are like this glass. There's the broken aspect to us. We've been through it all. We've been through every kind of brokenness there could be. And yet here we are, right? We're at the Light of the Infinite Festival 2022. Right? Chilling, glass blowing in Tzfat, online, all over the world. Unbelievable things going on here. And how could it be after we've gone through so much that we made it through? So just like the glass has this fire which keeps putting it back to wholeness, making it smooth and whole and beautiful again, we too have a fire which keeps bringing us back to wholeness and beauty and making us whole again. What's our fire? It's the fire, like I said before, of the Jewish heart, of Dvekut, of the Torah, of a mitzvah, of one letter, one beautiful letter of the Hebrew alphabet is this fire, literally. And that fire is giving us our hearts back, right? What was broken becomes beautiful. And this is a part of the secret to who we are as a people. So I want to go back to that first concept that I brought up. Of Shiviti. So what am I doing now? This idea of bringing consciousness, which is what we want, which is the point of this whole festival, and it's the point of our lives, to connect with each other and to love one another and to be seeking out truth and meaning in life together, right? Helping one another, helping us as a collective come into who we really are, become who we really truly are. So how do we do that? We do that by not forgetting who we're standing before. What is this whole story? What am I doing here? Who am I talking to? So I'm talking to you, and I'm standing before the Creator, Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shiviti Hashem and Tamid. And by doing that, by awakening in my heart, by awakening to learn the Holy Torah, to connect to Eretz Yisrael. And the Torah of Eretz Yisrael is this Torah of really returning to who we truly are. It's part of what needs to happen, is to come home, to get up and be strong and return to who we truly are, return to our true hearts, return to our true selves of who we're truly meant to be. And this happens by coming to Eretz Yisrael. And I'm broadcasting to you live here from Tzfat, Yira Kodesh, in Eretz Yisrael. I want to show you what I did here. Let's see if it shows up. We'll let it cool off a little bit, maybe it'll show. I don't know if you can see it. See if I can pick it up. It's starting to come into focus there. So I drew on here a little tree. On the other side, I drew a heart and it says Shiviti. The reminder that I'm always standing. Who am I always standing for? HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem. And I'm standing before another Jew, I'm standing before another person. I'm going to value that person, I'm going to see that person and see that my heart on the left-hand side is on the right-hand side of my friend, of the person across from me. And in loving that person, I'm giving myself a chance and that person a chance to really be who we really are meant to be. And this, going to this level of really becoming who we really need to be, it has to be on the level of speech. And it's not for no reason that it's glass blowing. That when we speak, it's our breath is in action. We blow the breath into shape. We blow the glass into shape with the breath. And that breath is basically bringing the secrets, the truth of that person, their understanding, their connection into expression. And if a person is truly holding by this level of Shiviti, Hashem the Negdi Tamid, then I know who I'm standing before. So every word is holiness. Every word is connection and devotion. And so by blowing glass, by having this experience, when you blow glass, just like when you speak, you need to always choose your words well, right? With glass blowing also, you have to make really good choices or it's not going to work. There's a fine margin of what works here. I have to heat up the glass enough, but not too much. Blow at the right moment, stop at the right moment. If I blow too hard, it's going to pop. If I don't blow hard enough, nothing will happen. Everything's so specific. And it's true with speech also, and the speech and the breath are obviously totally connected. Someone without breath cannot speak. Watch how I open this up. On purpose, popping that bubble, taking that handle off. Now I have this little l'chaim cup here, this little shot glass. The kavod, the shiviti, the kavod, the light of the infinite. And I really want to share this with you because it's this was a little experiment, but it's my way of relating how meaningful it is to open some holy books here in Tzfat, the holy city, and learn a little bit of Torah with you. Broadcast this out to the world, and even if it doesn't say on my live that there's hundreds of people watching, maybe someday hundreds of people will see this, and even one person will see it, and it'll help them awaken. It'll help that little leaf open up in their heart. Open up their heart to their truth. All of us, halavai, that we learn in such a way, and we learn from the true sources, from teachers that have yirat shamayim, that have understanding and humility and an ability to come from a place where they really want to just bring goodness to the world, just bring Hashem's light to the world through their ability to share what they're learning. So here's I made a little l'chaim cup with a tree of life on there and a heart that says Shiviti on it. That was my idea. I'll take it off the stick here. And I'm going to sign off in just a minute. We're coming to the end of the hour. I hope that you enjoyed this. And whoever's meant to hear this, so they should hear it, their hearts should awaken now. And they should see the recording. Or we'll meet someday. Everyone's going to connect. And come back to the Holy Land. Come back to the Holy City. You're all invited to come and visit me here in Tzfat. And you come and visit me in Yerushalayim. I'll meet you in Yerushalayim any day. Bezrat Hashem. And I hope some of these teachings that we've touched on today, of realizing how holy our tradition is, every single letter, every single word, our consciousness, knowing that it matters what I think, it matters what I say, it matters that I realize that I'm a part of something bigger in this world, and I want to bring light. I want to look across from me and see a person and be the heart on the right hand side of that person. I want to see that happen for all of us, for each other, that we're really treating each other with adequate respect and love, so that we really collectively together bring the geula, step into the geula together, b'simcha, and together in achdut, b'lev echad, am echad b'lev echad. So thank you so much for tuning in, and l'chaim.